Okay, I want to introduce this week's new concept, absolute value. Let me define it for you. Absolute value is the distance from zero. Can't spell from today. Not a good sign. Okay, so that's the definition. I do want to just add one more thing, which is that absolute value signs act like parentheses for order of operations. So put all that in your notes if you want. And let's see how it works. So, simplest example, if I have a negative number in an absolute value sign, it just equals itself to positive. What does that mean? If you think about a number line, this is the distance between this value and 0, and that distance is 1, 2 units. And so the distance from 0 to negative 2 is 2, okay? And like I was saying, x is a parentheses, so if you have, for example, this and a coefficient in front, this 3 is multiplied by this quantity, but you have to figure out what's in the parentheses first. Unlike a parentheses, it's often not wise to distribute first. You can get away with it in some cases, but I would advise just always do what's inside the absolute value sign first if you can. So in this case, this is going to become negative 1. And we're multiplying 3 by the absolute value of negative 1, which is just 1. So that's just going to be 3. Alright? Now, when you introduce variables, you get some other tricky stuff that happens. So, you might think, oh, well, the absolute value of x, that'll just be x, and so x is just 1. And 1 is a solution, but there's also another solution, negative 1, because if I plug in negative 1, it's going to become positive 1. And often, equations with variables inside absolute value signs have two solutions. And I want to show you the general method to figure out what the two solutions are. What you do is first you solve for the absolute value portion of the equation. So I want to get this by itself. So I'm going to subtract 1. And then you split this equation into two separate equations, because what this absolute value does is it makes everything in here positive, which means that if this is negative, negative 2 in this case, that'll be a solution, or if this is positive 2, that'll be another solution. So I'm just going to write that information here. Negative 2 minus x can equal 2, or negative, 2 minus x can equal negative 2. And if either one of those works, that will be a solution. So let's solve both of those for x. So in this case, we're going to subtract 2 from both sides, and we'll get negative x equals 0, or x equals 0, same thing. And in this case, we're going to subtract 2 from both sides and get negative x equals negative 4, or x equals 4. And both of those should be solutions to our initial equation. We can test them. 2 minus 0 is just 2, so 1 plus 2 is 3, good. And then 2 minus 4 is negative 2, which becomes positive 2, plus 1 is 3. So both of those work. So just one more time to run you through it. First you solve for the portion with the absolute value, then you split it into two equations, noting that this value, what it equals, can be either positive or negative. And then you find your two solutions if there are two. And it could be the case that one of them doesn't work. And I'll show you how solutions can not work. So if you try and solve this equation, you'll find that there is no solution. There's no value you can put in here into an absolute value sign that's going to give you a negative number, because what absolute value does is it makes all values positive. So this equation has no solution. And any time if you're solving your equation with an absolute value in it, anytime you wind up with an absolute value of something equals some negative number, you can tell immediately, oh, there's no solution. Because there's no way this side of the equation can have a negative value. Okay? So that's the gist of absolute value and solving equations. I'm really just introducing it today, so the assignment I think is pretty easy. There'll be another lesson tomorrow that'll go into more detail.